I'm Andy, and I'm joined by Nino Brown and S.C. Romero. We have a jam-packed episode after the intro. SC, Nino, what's going on, guys?
Good, my guys. You know what it is, future Phenoms. You look forward to two things. What Rising Stars we're talking about. Well, my wife's cooking for dinner today. I think it's burgers. But real quick, is it me or every time that intro drops, I start to freestyle? That beat goes so far, man. I love that beat, the music, everything. I'm like, oh snap, we about to get into it. So let's get it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I feel like Michael Penix on the sideline, bro, when that beat drops. I'm freestyling and rolling. We're going to get it going. I think this is going to be interesting. It's exciting and fun, and I'm excited to get it.
Speaking of Michael Penix, whoever has that freestyle, you need to drop it. We all want to hear what you were saying on the sideline there, so please give it to us.
Let's get right into it. We are live, and let's talk some Portal. SC, what do you want to talk about in the Portal?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're live, so let's talk about something that's fresh to us. Jaden Rashada, entering the transfer portal. The spring portal is very exciting, you know what I mean? Because it's like these are guys that we thought they were gonna play for their team, and now they're like, nah, we're switching sides. Rashada had an up and down year. He got banged up, got benched, got put back in. There's just a bunch of up and downs. But to me, he was my quarterback 5. Coming in. Andy, you knew that when we were talking about freshmen previously. He was my QB5. Just a very talented player. Has that dual threat capability. Knows how to extend the play. Has a good accuracy. Throws with some precision. Everything you want. He just needs to be groomed a little bit. As a lot of freshmen do. So he's excited to watch on where he can go. That the options are open, and I off the top, I can't think of a spot right now for him. I know Michigan needs a spot. Somewhere on Twitter said Georgia. I don't like that idea. They're like, watch out for Georgia. I don't know why that makes sense, but I wouldn't want him to go there. But Michigan's a good spot. I just hope he doesn't make a transfer down to a G5 school and he stays within your P4, But, we saw Malcolm Isom did, so he could possibly do that as well.
That was what I was going to say. Do you think he takes the transfer to the G5 and just goes in and starts? I would hope not. I think being out in Arizona State, getting a little bit of work on the Dillingham and in that offense, I think, we saw some things that were good and we saw some things that need to get worked on. You mentioned Georgia. Why wouldn't Alabama be a spot?
Yeah.
You talk about a QB room outside of Milroe, who actually has a lot of questions still. You know what I mean? Like Ty Simpson, year 3, I haven't seen anything any better out of you, young man. You can go sit at the end of the bench and have yourself a Gatorade bottle, right? And then Max there, but he hasn't shown anything either. He's a freshman, so it's like, Rashada working his way to what a way to change the landscape on everything people thought about you, right? You go to Alabama, you go to a big pristine school, and then you get a chance next year to kind of show your stuff and on the biggest stage, SEC. Maybe I started turning the pod on it, but it's something people need to think about because that QB room ain't full.
And I know you've been saying that, for our past episodes that you think Milroe enters that portal too. I think if they go after and get someone like Rashada, that may be a sign for him to be like, all right, I'm out. Like y'all brought in 2 new quarterbacks. I'm leaving here as well, which could open the door for him. But that would be interesting. SEC is a big thing. You got 2 new schools in there, and Texas and Oklahoma, so competition's beefing up even more. So that would be exciting to see him there as well.
I was adamant that Milroe was going to hit the portal because I didn't think that there would be. I didn't know who was going to get off their soapbox first. Like was the ball going to get off of his way of running an offense? Or was Milroe going to get off of the way he runs style of quarterback? I think right now we're seeing a marriage in 2 different styles. And Milroe made a nice deep ball throw in the corner of the end zone in the spring game. It seems as though they're meshing right now. There's a lot of football left before we get to the regular season. Obviously, I don't think he's hitting the portal now. We only have, 2 days left of it before the window is closed. But nobody outside of a select few thought Rashada was going to hit the portal either. So
Right.
we'll have to just wait and see.
I kind of wonder if he wants to go to a place where it's the best situation for him, or if he wants to start right away, kind of like what Malachi Nelson did.
Right.
So I think that's going to be interesting to see and watch for the spring portal. Nino, is there anyone that you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about a guy that has already made his decision, but I think the portal happenings have solidified that he made the right choice. I'm going to go in your home state, Andy. I'm going to go with Spencer Petras. He's the winner. He is the winner of the spring portal. Both quarterbacks in 48 hours decided to jump ship, right? Just earlier today, you had, what's his name? Cooper Legos. He decided to hit the portal. And then yesterday, you had McKay Hillstead hit the portal. There's nobody else there that has any experience anyway. Spencer Petras has had maybe 29 years at Iowa. So he brings him a lot of experience. I don't want anybody to ever say anything about Bo Nix and how long he played college football when Spencer Petras is going. I want to say it's year 7. It's somewhere. It's either 6 or 7. But he's maximizes his time and won a QB1 role out in Utah State. Jalen Royals is probably very happy because Petras, maybe the more experienced guy out of the whole room. We'll have to see. But obviously he's done something right to get 2 gentlemen who played split time last year out the door for a guy who really hasn't played much in the last 2 years. So I think Spencer Petras has absolutely won the portal window hands down without even having to do anything on his own.
I think the spring game is going to be pretty interesting. Jalen Royals has been able to mesh with Petras. They've kind of been limiting Jalen Royals so he doesn't get too hurt or anything like that early on. So the spring game should be pretty fun. They also had a running back, their leading runner, Booth, went into the portal as well. So a lot of shakeups with Utah State. We'll see what happens. But let's talk about our first segment, names to watch for the 2024 college football season. Nino, who's your first guy?
All right, let's go wide receiver here. Okay, I'm going to go out West Virginia. Okay, I'm going to go Traylon Ray, former top 50 wide receiver in the 2023 class, 6'3", 193, 195 pounds. Depends on the meal. He's a 2-sport athlete, played basketball and football, and he was good at both. He was also a 2-way player at football in high school. He played safety DB, 43 tackles, 6 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions. Last season, he had 34 targets, 18 receptions, a little over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he had 18 yards per catch. He only had 6 starts, but in them 6 starts, he had 19 targets of 10 receptions, 216 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That just tells me when you gave him the starting role, the kid went out there and worked. 8. They got it done. Most of his production came when you put him in a starting role. He lined up 87.8% out wide, so he's a true outside receiver, right? 6 starts, 10 first downs, 321 yards, 120 yak, 8 out of over 15, so it's above that double-digit threshold. Okay, it doesn't matter. People say, "Oh, he's a deep threat." Is he really just a deep threat? Because 20-plus yard throws, he had 13 targets, 6 receptions for 247 yards. But under 10-yard throws, he had 14 targets with 10 receptions for 66 yards. This guy plays in the middle of the field better than Ken Griffey Jr. in his prime. And I think you're going to hear a lot about Traylon Ray this year.
Yeah, that's a great comparison, Ken Griffey there. No, he was great, man. What I loved about him was his hand-eye coordination. You look at him, man, he knows where he needs to be to make a catch. Like, he's making some what looks like difficult catches look easy because he's being aware where it needs to be. And that could be with that basketball IQ. You see a lot of those athletes take that hand-eye coordination to that level as well. He's very quick-fitted. He knows how to get between the guys as well. He is someone that can stretch the field, but I think his route running is really good as well. Like, he knows where he needs to adjust, how to make the cuts properly. And as I mentioned, even if the ball's being overthrown, he knows when he needs to stretch his hands out. Like, he doesn't do it prematurely. He does it right at the right time, so the ball goes straight into his hands. So he could be a quarterback's best friend because of those kind of situations for him.
Love it.
Yeah, I do like that call. This should be a very good year for Garrett Green at quarterback. And West Virginia in the summer, they are getting a freshman coming in that I'm pretty high on. And we will talk about later this summer. SC, who's your first guy?
Yeah, so I know you asked about transfer portal guys earlier, but these are some guys I wanted to highlight specifically. One is Dallin Hayden, Ohio State transfer. He's someone that the running room's crowded, right? So he needs to go out there and try to find some fresh juice, if you will. I guess he's a patient runner. He knows how to absorb that first contact, keeps his feet moving. Not as explosive as you'd like to see, but he does know how to make a pretty good run here and there. I've heard that some of the teams looking at him is Colorado, who just lost Alton McCaskill as well. Auburn, Louisville, who just lost Penny Boone, and then UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Georgia Tech. I think all those could possibly be some opportunities for him to find something where he's not necessarily buried, and we could probably see something that we haven't seen quite yet at Ohio State.
So I feel like his game is like two-faced, right? Like there's the good parts to his game, and then there's the questions about his game. Like, yes, he averages 5 yards per carry. He came in out of high school as a very dominant back and physical back. And he had that first freshman year, right? Where they gave him touches because they kind of had to due to injuries and stuff. But he made well with what he did. But he couldn't really even beat out Chip.
Mhm.
And Chip hit the portal, right? He couldn't beat out the true freshman in Peoples this year. So he hit the portal there. And we saw that in the spring game. Peoples got that juice. And then this is the main. Is he a Quinton Judkins type of locker room guy? Because he consistently got into trouble at Ohio State with his coaches, which got him kind of benched for multiple games where they could have used him. But because of his off-field attitude or whatever he did, he wasn't available to play. So I wonder, is there a lot of things that need to get fine-tuned in his mental game to get him right on his actual football game? But I love the 5 yards plus per carry. I love the physicality to his game. Landing spot would be huge. I think Chip, and you could bookmark me, tweet me, whatever you want. I think Chip Trahan outperforms Dallas Hayden this year, no matter where Dallin Hayden lands.
That's fair. Go ahead.
Here's my thing with Dallin Hayden. You are at an elevated program. You have a chance to elevate your profile. All you had to do was to be the RB3 this year. Mm-hmm. Sit behind Judkins, sit behind Henderson. Travion's got a history of injury, so you could easily be in as the RB2. If you believe in your talent, you believe in yourself, those two guys should go to the NFL next year, and it should be your room, and you share it at worst 60-40 split with Peoples. He decided to bounce out. I question how much he wants it. Mm-hmm. How much does he want to be a football player? We talked about he got in the doghouse last year in 2023. That has been verified. He was in the doghouse. He got outplayed once he got onto the field too this past season. He saw James Peoples Jr. and was like, you know what? This guy's going to beat me. Mm-hmm. I got to bounce out. I got to go somewhere else. Where I think he should end up is at the G5.
Yeah.
If he goes to the G5, he will make a name for himself. If he goes to the SEC, goes to the Big 12, whatever the case is, he'll be a rotational back. That's just my view on him.
Yeah, I think that's where he's at right now, right, as a rotational back. So wherever he goes, regardless, even if G5, G5 you could say is an opportunity to be the main back there. But even then, he needs to prove that he can't do that because he's lost that, right? He's lost that juice or that like you mentioned, that mental state where it's like maybe that being benched or had that bad connection with the coaches made him question himself, and now he needs to regain that confidence back to say, hey, I can do it. So sometimes that's hard to come back for. You see it a lot of times where those athletes, they get that bench and they can't recover back from it. So that's why he'd be an exciting player to watch on where he can go and what he does do, because we've seen it, but we've also seen the bad side. So those are always interesting.
I got a good spot he can land. Don't even have to change the color of his jersey, and they've been known to just pumping out running backs. Chirp, baby. Go to Ball State. Let's get some action. I think he's at Ball State. This dude will just produce, bro.
I don't want him at Ball State. I got DJ Williams there.
Yeah, but you could work together. What running back room in the country just has one guy, right?
Yeah.
He's been used to being the third option. What would be the difference now? But I think at that program, right, that program produces running backs. They've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. Kind of a point I'm going to get to coming up. But Steele, right? You seen before Steele, those running back. Last year they had a guy that produced damn near close to 1,000 yards. I think a spot like that, somewhere in the MAC, would be great for him. This is what they do. They produce running backs, right?
Nino, who's your next guy?
Perfect segue. Let's get it. Ball State, talking portal, right? It all works out together. Caden Samanza, okay, quarterback, Ball State. I liked the kid last year. I was hoping things would work out better for him. Just have to wait a year. He's a former 3-star recruit out of Mission Viejo. And Mission Viejo is an elite football program, if you don't know.
Good program.
But this kid at Ball State, as a true freshman last year, he was the first freshman quarterback to take a snap or stop with Ball State since 2018 in John Paddock, okay? Coming out of high school, this kid was almost 70% completion. He had 2,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's a dual threat QB, right? He had over, he had 300-something yards a senior year. Last year, he had 430 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 picks. And that's not good, but he was 61%. They got to remember, he only had 3 starts. The first game he came in the second half against Kentucky and lit it up pretty much. 15 for 20, 75%, had 165 yards and a touchdown. Well, who do you have to face weeks 2? Georgia. True freshman, can't throw in the fire in his first start against Georgia. He got annihilated, right? He was 43.8%, 7 for 16. He threw 3 picks. But if you go and look into dive in a little deeper into the game, he only threw 1 turnover-worthy play, which is an interception. The other 2 interceptions were just great plays by an unbelievable defense. Following week, Indiana State went back up to 72%, 17 for 22, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. And in those 4 games, he had 53 yards rushing. But he did have 4 fumbles. So there are some things he has to work on. But Tanner Kozel's back. Hit the portal, decided, no, I'm going to stay. He got his lucky tight end. The guy in front of him, who they kind of battling back and forth all year last week, Kelly, he just hit the portal this morning. He's gone. See you later. Now, I mentioned the coaching staff. Kevin Lynch. He's a former wide receiver, okay? He's been the QB coach there for a little bit. He got the best out of Drew Plitt. The guy threw for 9,000 yards in 4 years there. And since he joined Ball State, their offense has been a top program in the MAC. This kid has the ability. Now, a season getting, refined, working on his toolage. I think he'll be a little bit better. But I'm going to tell you something right now. For the first 4, 5, 6 weeks, it's his job. There's nobody in there unless they hit someone in the portal. And even at that, he already has to step up because he's way more familiar with the playbook and what they're going to run. I just think this kid has the ceiling right now is immense for him. And there's a good chance that he could take off this year.
Yeah, I like that guy too. I mean, you hit a lot of things. He can play under center. He can play in the shotgun. Knows how to use his feet. Extends it. He has a strong arm too. And you brought up the accuracy. That's something that really stood out to me. Was he is throwing dimes of 40, 50 yards. When he needs to make it happen. So that arm capability is there. With a guy like that, he does need proper grooming to make sure he's legit quarterback and have that confidence as well. But his footwork when he steps back, when his drop back happens, his feet are like constantly moving in a sense where he's stepping back to assist, and then he's like, okay, I need to step into my pass as well. So his feet work after that initial snap is always great to see because he's constantly being aware of where the defense is, if he needs to roll out to escape the pocket and use his feet, which he's not afraid to, or if he needs to use his arm, which he does do pretty well as well. So I really enjoy that pick there.
SC, who's your next guy?
So another guy, like I said, transfer portal guys here for me today. Cormani McLean, defensive back out of Colorado. This guy was a top scout right for him at Colorado. They were talking about, they got one of the top DBs and stuff. He looked good coming out. He looked like he closed on the ball well. He looked like he did really well in his hip movement. He knew what he had to do. He was a two-way player, also played wide receiver as well. So everything was matching up for him. Freshman season, though, this guy allowed 72% completion. He allowed 37, or he had 37.5 missed tackle rate. Played 277 snaps. So it's like you had the opportunity there, bro. And, Dion came out and said when they talked to him today, it was like, are you afraid that you're losing these people in the transfer portal? He was like, who are we losing? Backups? It goes a long way. And it's just like, man, this guy, he's got a lot to prove. And I bring him up because he's a player to watch because coming out of high school, it looked like, all right, this is going to be a top cornerback to watch. After that freshman season, I don't know. So he's gonna have to work his way back up, prove that he's a dog again, and go out there and pull it. Just like we talked about Hayden, this is an opportunity for him to go somewhere new. Sometimes a new coaching staff helps. You get new people in the locker room, maybe new motivators, whatever you want to say. This is a guy that has the talent. We just haven't seen it yet. He looked pretty bad that freshman season. So hopefully come out, find a different spot, maybe, sit behind some guys, learn a little bit, and fine tune that craft for him.
Yeah, he did get smoked a lot. And
All the time.
it took him 4 weeks before he even got on the field. But if you dive in a little bit, there were glimpses, okay? There was 2 games back-to-back when Travis Hunter got hurt, and he was the DB1. Dion called on him, legitimately pulled him in the fourth quarter and said, homie, this is your time. I need you to make this play. And he broke that play up in the end zone for a dub. Like, he had flashes. Yes, there were times where he was terrible, and there were times where you saw it a little bit. But then, I love Dion, but there's something with what's going on over there isn't right. I share the thing. The media will twist it any way they want, and you hate it. Yeah, he's getting rid of guys. The guys he got rid of, if you look at the production, there really is no production. They didn't really put, and I think there's 1 or 2 gentlemen. It was Komani and one other guy. I think it was another DB that had playing time that really did anything. But then you see the reports on Alton's father. My son was healthy. They just didn't run him. Are Dion and his staff really doing right by these guys? Are they really producing these football players? Or are they really just worrying about the Sanders? Is that what it's doing?
And it's funny. Go ahead. I'll let you speak because I want to talk about that. But go ahead, Andy. I know you have stuff to say.
You open this can of worms, so I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I'm going to break the wall down.
Let's go.
The entire coaching staff at Colorado, they don't have accountability. They don't care about accountability. All they care about is the brand and the name. That's all they care about. Bringing in advertisers, bringing in money. Dion, at the end of the day, only cares about Dion. People don't want to hear about that. People don't want to admit that. But you have to remember who he was as a player. Who he was as a player is who he is as a coach. At the end of the day, he's going to showcase Shedeur. He's going to showcase Travis Hunter. He's going to showcase people that he can use and make himself look that much better. I'll get off my soapbox now.
It's my fault. My fault. I put the ball up and laid it up to you,
No, I'm glad you're saying that because Andy, you know more than anyone that I was super high on them last year, right? I was like, Colorado's gonna be it. It was it. And it was a lot of showboating too. And there was one interesting fact when some athletes of his weren't going to classes or something, and he brought them out and he told the coach, "Yo, pull up their draft grade, their NFL draft grade." He's like, they don't have one, right? And it's like, I get that in a sense too, right? Like you're like, yo, I'm not just here to make sure you're going to NFL because chances are a lot of you won't. That's just reality. So you have to focus on your work ethic. We want to make you men, all that kind of stuff, and that's what he preaches, right? Like we're making men here. Not everyone's going to, but it's like, bro, you still have a team. Like if you can make your full team, you talk about Alabama's or Georgia's teams that have like 40-50% of their roster go every year. Like, is that not what you want? And it's kind of like you just mentioned, like it's only about the positive news comes out of Shedeur. You hear a little bit of Shiloh here and then Travis Hunter. But like everyone else, it's like you have some talent there. We talked about Will Sepper before. I was big on McCaskill because he was great in Houston before he got hurt. Like you have talent there. So, what's really going on is a great fit. And that's something that all that talk eventually breaks the locker room. Like you no longer have guys like, yeah, the publicity is great. It's kind of like a USC back in the day, but except USC was winning. You know what I mean? Like they're not winning. Like eventually these guys are going to see through it. It's like, bro, I don't like, yeah, what you have Lil Wayne at halftime? Cool. I want to go get an opportunity to play and showcase my skills to be a top athlete to get drafted. Not even if you say I don't have a draft grade. Well, shit, make me have a draft grade. Like, what do I need to do to get better, right? Don't tell me, oh, I'm going to go be an accountant. Sure, I might be, but can I be an NFL player if you coach me right? So there's a lot of questions coming on, and, I'm getting off that high horse that was once on. So
here's the thing with Colorado and Coach Prime. Besides having a good rapport with Travis Hunter and bonding over fishing, and that's pretty much how he flipped him from Florida State, Who has Coach Prime got to Colorado in at the high school level recruiting? They got that one offensive
Edwards.
lineman who's a
Dylan Edwards.
5-star.
That's it.
Come on, a 5'7", 150-pound guy.
Top
I mean,
10, he was
that's
a top 10 running back in the class, though.
and then this year they got Draylon Miller, a wide receiver. Other than that, he hasn't been able to get anybody as a high school recruit. He'll go in the portal, guys that are already made, and he'll go in and probably sell him, hey, I can elevate your status. Come to Colorado for your final year. But to bring in these high school recruits, he hasn't been able to do it. He's missed more than he's hit.
He's trying to sway my guy Juju. It's not going to happen. Julian Lewis isn't going to Colorado, buddy. You can try all you want. You can try to send him all the bags you want. He ain't going there, bro. Come on, stop.
All right, Nino, who's your last guy?
My last guy is Qual Conley. All right, running back out of Arizona. You got to follow the tea leaves here, okay? He's following his coach, right, from San Jose State, Brett Brennan. He's the new head coach of Arizona as all the dominoes fell after DeBoer left Washington and Fish went, from Arizona to Washington. But he was the RB2 for the Spartans last year while putting up 181 attempts, 842 yards, 9 touchdowns, over 6 yards per carry, right? He's a physical running back. He had 560 yards after contact. He's explosive, 24 runs of 10-plus yards. Plus, he had 430 breakaway yards. Versatile running back, a 50-50 split where it comes zone or gap runs. It doesn't matter. You can run any of them, right? He's a chain mover, 41 first downs. He's elusive as shit, 45 missed tackles forced. And he's a receiving threat. He was a better receiving threat than the guy in front of him. He had 36 targets, 27 receptions for 257 yards. Now, Kyrie Robinson was RB1. But he didn't really outperform him by that much. If you break down the numbers, he had 170 for 1,180 and 18 touchdowns. And he had, 600 breakaway yards and 700 yards yak. It was a little bit better. But if you look at positive production per, they're right in the same box. Now you're looking at him an opportunity, right? You have an unbelievable wide receiver quarterback combo. So those are going to draw attention right off the rip. But Jonah Coleman and Michael Wiley are gone. That's 200 voided attempts, over 1,100 voided yards, and 8 touchdowns. He's the guy. He's going to make up for that. This guy has been explosive when asked to be. He's been dominant when asked to be. And he's been both of those while another guy was eating at the same table as him. Never backed down, never got scraps. And like I said, when it came down to positive production per, he was sitting there right in the same box. There was no way that Kyrie Robinson was saying, "Here, hold my beer." My man was slapping that thing out of his hand and say, "Next, give me another one." This dude is about, they're not going to worry about missing Michael Wiley or Jonah Coleman. Well, Conley's going to be absolutely fine. He might even put up better numbers in this offense.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Wiley because I think he's an underrated back here that people aren't talking enough about, and it's because he was pretty good in Arizona. I think this guy, Conley, can really jump into that. He has great size too, 5'10", 210, that perfect kind of running back size you want. And you mentioned for Fafita, that's going to be someone you want that has that dual threat ability. He could run between tackles, but he can also catch out the backfield, and that's something that's going to elevate his draft stock. At a team like Arizona, that's always like an underrated team, yet they always surprise you. They always do better than what you may think they're going to do. So it'll be exciting to see him and get that target share, or that I say target share, but those attempts, because there is a lot missing there, and it's kind of an open room. So this is his chance.
Trying to find some kind of an identity again, right? They lost a lot of people in this defensively and depth pieces on the offense. New coach. Everything's going to be a work in progress. New conference. But one thing that's always going to be is they're going to run the ball. He's good. Whether they may put up 40 every game and maybe only win 4 games, but they're going to have to put up points, and they're going to be in every single game. That is why I have a dual threat running back like Qual Conley. I think he's never going to be out of it. He's a true 3-down back. He can pass pro as well. This is a guy that you're going to want, especially in CFF. This is a dude you want to target.
And those are some names to know and write down for your CFF, C2C, and IDP leagues. On to our next segment. This or that. 2023 draft class versus 2024 draft class. I'm so happy this is the last one.
Thank you.
Roshan Johnson versus Ray Davis. SC, you're up first.
Man, so Roshan just, Bijan was there, right? Roshan looked good, though. And it's crazy to the question comes: if Bijan wasn't there, would Roshan have been the guy? And he didn't do it freshman year, so maybe not. But I think Ray Davis showed a little bit more juice on his college tape, had a little bit more of explosiveness when he was hitting the holes, came out pretty aggressively, and I think Ray Davis in this sense is going to be it. Roshan has a chance. I know the Bears have what they traded for Swift. I was about to say Miles Sanders. They traded for DeAndre Swift, so all the opportunities he would have got are just taken. Ray Davis may end up in a committee back. I think he's going to be a 5th, maybe 6th round draft pick. He's definitely a day 3 guy, but he's someone to watch because his explosive. He runs like a bowling ball, like just a freight truck just going straight through you. So I'm going to take Ray Davis here.
It's Ray Davis. I've never been a Roshan Johnson guy ever. 500 yards and 5 touchdowns behind Bijan in back-to-back years. Yes, he was behind Bijan, okay? But he could have came back a year. It just could have been his room. And last year would have been his. And he said, nah, I'm going to go to the NFL. And was meh at the NFL where he had the opportunity to kind of take that room. And he didn't. I'm going to say something real quick. Ray Davis is a complete back. Ray Davis has done it on 3 separate teams. Yeah, people forget that he was on Temple where he rushed for 900-something yards and 8 touchdowns his sophomore year, okay? Or freshman year, actually. Then he went to Vandy, SEC school, right? 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. Stayed in the SEC, Kentucky. 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. He actually had 21 touchdowns if you include the receiving, ability he had. He had 33 receptions, 300 yards. But he did that at Vandy. He was a receiving threat at Vandy. It's just on this stage, where he was on a team that had a big offensive line, and he was able to break them. He was small on a big stage. Show me something that Roshan Johnson did to you that was anywhere remotely close to the Florida game that Ray Davis had. Something anywhere. Like, if you just look at that game, he was so dominant. They threw everybody at him. You could not stop him, whether it was from 45 yards out or from 5 yards out. Especially on the goal line, they literally stuffed the middle of the field, and he still ran it down his throat for a touchdown. I never saw any of that from Roshan. Roshan couldn't even beat Khalil Herbert. Like, if you're supposed
I was
to
trying
be
to think of it. That was freshman year.
Yeah, like, who's the dude? He couldn't do it. Herbert at Chicago, he couldn't even beat him out. And Herbert wasn't even the guy. The thing is in Chicago, Herbert wasn't their guy. He was a leftover from the previous regime. Roshan was their guy. He couldn't beat him. Give me Ray Davis. Ray Davis is that bone ball type with some speed, right? But he's a complete back. Like I said, he's a receiving threat. He can be there on 3rd down. He can pass, bro. Give me Ray Davis.
Is Ray Davis in your top 10 rankings? And who do you guys have as your top 5 running backs?
I wrote my top 10. I sent it to you, so you know where I was at. Ray Davis is in my top 10. He's at 9.
I have Ray Davis at 7. Looking at it, I'm probably adjusting, but my former rankings, he was at 7.
I'll tell you one thing. Marshawn Lloyd isn't even in my top 10.
That's what I'm saying. He's dropping. He was 2 for a while, but after seeing more about him, yeah, my rankings are up to date. But Ray Davis is definitely in there. I've watched him in my top 10 too. So
I'll read mine off to you if you want real quick. I got 1 Brooks, 2 Braylon Allen, 3 Corum, 4 Benson, 5 Jalen Wright, 6 Bucky Irvin, 7 Will Shipley, and I don't understand why people aren't even talking about Will Shipley. It's ridiculous. 8 Audric Esteem. Again, another Braylon Allen type guy. He's going to be 20 years old when he takes his first snap. Ray Davis, and then at 10, Tyrone Tracy. Estimate, whatever you want to call him. Esteem. I don't know what his name is, man.
I was laughing at Will Shipley. I know Andy loves Will Shipley. This is I haven't adjusted my rankings in like 2 months or so, but it was Benson, Lloyd, Brooks, Corum, Irving, Wright, Davis, Allen, Kamani, and Watson were my top 10.
Did you say Lloyd at 2?
Yeah, that's what I said. I haven't adjusted, but yeah, he's dropping out.
At 2?
Yeah.
That dude is Ray Charles out there when he's fucking running. Ray Charles, there could be a hole the size of a Mack truck, and he's going to run into his lineman's ass. How do you have that guy at 2? Please, SC, talk to me. I need to know, bro.
I saw some elusiveness in there, so maybe I watched the raw tape too. I saw him hitting some holes and being pretty good when he's cutting through and having some good speed.
Instead of taking the wide open lane that he didn't have to cut anywhere, and he could have ran for 20 yards or a touchdown.
There you go, and that's what I'm saying. My rankings are not up to date, but that's what I had when I was seeing it. Seeing the cuts, looking more at what he's doing with the cuts than just going into the easy open lane. So
in the Pac-12, what did he do in the SEC?
But yeah, Hey, I like Bo Nix though, man. Like, you talk about the past time, you go in and do something different. So
And
So
worse
I
competition though.
yeah, for
so
sure.
I was too busy laughing at Audric Estime.
I said estimate. I know, whatever. SC,
But
I knew
who?
you were laughing.
But SC, who's your RB1?
I still got Benson as my guy, as RB1.
So you have guys with bad vision as your 1 and 2 for the class.
Yes, yeah. Both guys are like, Char, I'm a pirate.
I like Benson, man. I like his footwork, what he can do. I think he's someone that can be good at that next level, and I think he's gonna be a top RB. So that's my flag on him, as he's my RB1 moving forward. The cuts, man. I love his one-step cut there. Maybe that's my downfall too. And again, why I said I need to adjust them. But my downfall with it was seeing those cuts and what they do with that footwork.
So you really like cuts, right? Okay, that might be a little too harsh. Where do you have Blake Corum? Because Blake Corum is someone who is shifty, who does a lot of cuts. And if you haven't seen it, there are clips on X where it looks like he's going in 4x speed when he's making those cuts. Where do you have him if you like guys who are able to make that jump cut?
He's RB4. He's likely gonna be my RB3. Like I said, more likely, unless I go back and watch something I don't like. Benson's been one of my favorite running backs, so he is that one. Brooks will be up to my 2, and then Corum to my 3. But right now, he's at RB4.
You know, we should have a segment where each week I give Nino the hardest college and NFL names, and he just needs to pronounce them.
I tell you, I suck at this stuff. I told you this before we started the show, bro. I've murdered names for a long time.
We did get you that cheat sheet that shows you how to pronounce them.
Yes, please.
All right, let's go to our next one. Freshman versus freshman. Wide receiver Keelan Adams, Virginia Tech, versus wide receiver Ashton Bethel Roman, Texas A&M. Nino, you're up first.
All right. My guy Brody.
Brody, I love that name, bro.
Keelan Adams, 6'2", 180. He's a 4-star on the composite. I mean, Alabama literally threw everything they possibly could throw at this kid, and he said, no thanks, but I'm good. All right. This kid is an absolute numbers machine. 66 touchdowns, 4,400 yards in 4 years of high school. He holds the record, right, for anywhere in high school where he was at. I think it's Virginia, correct? I have a record. He's 3-time All-State wide receiver, right? Junior year, 1,000 yards, 41 receptions. You could do the math. 16 touchdowns. Senior year, 59 receptions, 1,200 yards, 18 touchdowns. This kid was 3 straight years of 1,000 yards. I'm talking body control. I'm talking feel. Always aware of the boundary. Always aware where the first down marker is, right? He adjusts well, right? He makes hard catches, overthrown balls, off-target throws. He makes them look easy. Things that should, most average wide receivers would look like they were contorting their body. He's just like, got him. He is, and I want you to understand this, he is a great route runner. If you will fight me on this one, SC, I'm walking off the show, okay? He's got great hands. He gets in and out of cuts very, very well. He has good length, and good luck jamming this guy at the line of scrimmage, okay? People want to talk about the physicality of Malachi Corley? Try to jam in Adams and see what happens. You're going to be landing up on your backside.
Ever since our JoJo talk, I've been looking deeper into the wide receivers and actually their routes and stuff. Now, I actually have Brody. The first thing I say is the yak ability. His start-stop is phenomenal, second to none. He needs an inch of separation and he can make a play. Like, don't give him that much time. Like, he is that quick to make a move and adjust and just do it halfly. I had Brody, but since you didn't talk about him, I gotta talk about my guy from Mo City, Missouri, Texas, and Bethel Roman. He has a killer first step too. When it comes off the line, he knows what he needs to do. That footwork availability. He glides too when he's talking about running. He does have the ability to catch at the high point as well. Someone to watch out. As I mentioned, the yards after the catch is important. So that's why I did go with Brody, because I saw a lot more of that and him making the plays. Where Bethel Roman, he's making the catch. He's not doing as much after that catch. He's gaining it maybe a couple yards here and there, but he's not really going and making the big plays as you saw with Brody making. So I took Brody in that regards.
Hold on. You said he's what? He's not a big play guy in Bethel Roman.
Not as much as Brody was.
I got big play McGee, huge athleticism, length, top of the route separation, subtle wins more than quickness for him. Quarterback's best friend, right? Quick on the QB, gets to the open spot, reads the quarterback eyes when he needs to adjust off the routes. These are all things I got. NFL pedigree. His father was a second-round pick out of LSU to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
Like 6'1", 170. And you want to talk speed? 200 meter, 21.57. Arkansas wish they got this guy. They tried hard to get him, and they whiffed. I'm more of a Brody guy, but this is a big play guy. This kid's got, you give him, you talked about how Brody was good in short area. This guy will make you miss in a phone booth if he has to. He's got it. The best thing I love about this game is that top of the route. Just when you think you hung with him enough, boop, boop, gotcha. Now I got the ball. I love both of these guys, but it's Brody for me. I just think Brody going to Virginia Tech, you know how I feel about Virginia Tech. I just think he's going into a perfect situation, whether it's this quarterback or the next quarterback.
Every show sheet I do, it's got a little,
he knows
Easter eggs here and there. There's always, some tricks here and there. Next one, position versus position. Wide receiver, Jordan Hudson versus Eric McAllister. SC, you're up first.
This one's hard, man. I'm going with McAllister here. Over 50.9% catch completion, 52.9 contested catch. 5 drops is the big thing here that hurts him here compared to what you see with Hudson. But he just has that good acceleration off the line, knows how to get quick-footed and right out the back and just beat your defenders down the line. So I will with McAllister
here. First of all, you're a funny guy. You are a funny guy. You want to talk about Easter eggs, right? He knows I like to go down rabbit holes. And I texted him right before we got in. I says, you funny, you little SOB. I'm like, but one guy went to TCU and transferred out. Both Texas receivers. The other guy goes to TCU after going to Boise. I see you. I got you. But this one, like I said, this one was tough. McAllister at Boise, 47 receptions, almost 900 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like you said, it was close to 20 yards per catch. The game I liked the most about him before he decided to give up on his team, we'll talk about that in a second. He had 7 receptions for 69 yards. First Washington. They were ranked top 10 at the time. Boise State had no business even being in that game. And he was one of the reasons why they actually were moving the ball slightly. Your regime hit a funk. Your coach got fired. And you just ran, bro. You left your teammates high and dry. Like, I've even looked into, Prince was pissed that McAllister just left. They were boys, and he was supposed to, they were working together to develop each other. I don't know. Something in that whole thing speaks volumes about his character. You just left it's a team sport. It wasn't like you got benched. You were the dude. Your coach got fired by the university, and you just said, I'm out, Ski, bro. I don't want to deal with the change. And now you're trying, now you're at the TCU. Good luck over there because they can't develop a wide receiver to save their life. But Hudson, you got McAllister, that big frame, contested catch, huge catch radius, right? Hudson, this kid had it, right? Garland, Texas, top 15 wide receiver in 2022. Got that great run after catch ability. He's a chain mover. Another guy that's always aware of the boundary, always aware of the hash. It's leverage for me with Hudson. He can spin you around with his great use of leverage. Just when you think you got him outworked or you got the angle, all of a sudden this guy got a shoulder dip, and now that little bit of leverage, and now he's got separation. Doesn't have nothing to do with his speed. Ain't got nothing to do with physicality. It's all about leverage. Smarts up here. Knowing where to be, right? Ball tracker skills are top notch, right? And one guy I mentioned had top of the route separation. This guy's got top of the route speed. It's at the end when he has to make that last move, where he has to make that last part of his route where he starts to separate. I'm going against consensus here. I'm going Hudson. I think Jordan Hudson is going to, at the end of it all, is going to have a better body of work and be a better NFL talent when all said and done.
Well, if McAllister doesn't fix his drops too, that haunts you, right? Hudson, past 2 seasons, 1 drop. McAllister past 2, 5. That's a pretty big difference when you're talking about some receivers that try to get open and make your plays. So that's something that benefits Hudson too. He knows he has those strong hands and he doesn't miss. So
And that leads into my conversation point here. SC, I knew you were going to bring this up, so I absolutely love it. Do you trust TCU's coaching staff? TCU has failed back-to-back 5-star wide receivers. They failed Jordan Hudson. He went to SMU. They failed Cordell Russell. He's now at Colorado. Do you have any concerns that Eric McAllister might not be able to develop?
yeah, that is a big concern, but I think I do enjoy that talent. He's when you see the talent there, it is there for him. So hopefully, sometimes you get those outlier players that they outperform what the coach is doing, like the elevation, right? Like I don't see him possibly getting better, but I think the talent is there where he's still going to go out there and produce and be one of their top guys.
You're going up a level of conference to a level down of coaching production. That usually doesn't work out well. It usually takes on the player having to get himself to the next level. Well, Quentin Johnson didn't get himself to the next level, right? No. Cordell Russell couldn't get himself to the next level. Like, this is the whole point. When you take on a 4, 5-star, even a 3-star kid, you're telling their parent, I am going to get your son to that. I'm going to produce the best man and the best football player I can for you. I don't know that TCU can say that they are actually doing that when it comes to tight ends and wide receivers. I just don't really know what they are. If Garrett Riley was still there, it's a whole different conversation.
And that was our This or That segment, and that leads us to our next 5 statements with Nino and SC. Statement number 1, Torrey Horton and Jalen Royals will be day 2 NFL draft picks in 2025. Please. Nino, you're up first.
I'll bet $100 right now. Toys to Tots, whatever organization you want to go. Both of these MFs are going in, hands down. There is no way around it. I don't give a shit what you say. Torrey Horton, back-to-back 1,000 yards for a season. Deep threat, savvy, natural pass catcher, right? Got the thing I love about this kid, right? He only has straight line speed. Doesn't have the speed when he goes this way. But he does not let that make him get beat. He is so great at arm extension and length to catch the ball, to beat his receiver, beat his DB. I think he might be the best in his class at using his arms and his catch ability to shy the defender away. He's an open field monster. You get him in the open field, he will dominate. All of those things that I just mentioned to you are things that NFL GMs are looking for in a wide receiver. Jalen Royals got it out the mud, right? Like JUCO to Utah State, like just got it done. It's a former Georgia wide receiver that didn't get all the hype like everybody else did. And then year 1, when he put it all together, 70 receptions, 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns. He has that. Another guy has field awareness, always aware of the boundary, right? Does well outside the hash and inside the hash. Does well deep, can work the middle of the field, has great hands. It's a wrap. If you don't think either one of these guys are going, you're nuts. Absolutely, 100%. Both of these guys will be day 2 NFL picks next year.
Yeah, I agree. My only question for Royal was, do you think he has to get 10 or 12 touchdowns again to just elevate? I think he has all the talent there. So regardless, even if he gets less.
Jalen Royals does not need to get 10 touchdowns. Jalen Royals doesn't need to do anything to eclipse what he did last year. He put what he needed to on film. This is a guy who is verified 4.3 speed. Mm-hmm. He is someone that worked his game. One of his weak points when he first got to Utah State, he could not get off the line. Corners kept pressing him. Corners jammed him. They did everything that they could do, and he could not get off the line. He made that weakness into a strength. That coaching staff applauded him for working that. He turned a weakness into a strength. And what I love about Jalen Royals, he is so humble. He works and he works and he works at his craft. 6 feet, 193 pounds. He has a verified 4.340. That will play, and that speed off the line will play. He is an NFL player, and he is a Devy asset. I say at the end of the day, round 2 next year.
Woo, I love it. I like the way that he worked and got better at his craft. I see the same thing in like Ryan Fortnoy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just grind and grind to get better at whatever I have to do to get better, to get to the next level.
sad thing is people are gonna wait to the combine and start talking about him because they show that 4.3 on the combine and stuff. But I mean, that's, again, we talk about don't scout the helmets, right? But I think that's gonna be the reality. But that talent is there. Same thing with Horton. I mean, Horton, I love his contact balance. He kind of just slips off guys whenever he gets the ball in his hands and makes the big play as well. So I think both guys are day two. So I love that.
Statement number 2, Alabama wide receiver Jeremy Bernard will break out and become a round 2 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. SC, you're up first.
I think he has to have a massive year to be able to do that. I think he could line up anywhere, mostly in the slot where he goes. 73.7 over the last 2 seasons when he's going the catches. Washington and Michigan, he's going to his 3rd school in 3 years. That's something to monitor, right? Transfer portal is making things crazy. Guys are playing on 5 schools in 5 years, things like that. So he's slippery. He's someone that can get off. He can brush off the contact and get open. I just think for him, because of his jumping around, he's going to need a massive season to be able to get into a round 2 pick.
The 3 schools in 3 years, I think this is different. I'm gonna let that one slide. He was going wherever the ball was going because he was the de facto wide receiver 1 for the ball if it was at Washington. So in reality, to me, it's like it's just 2 seasons.
Follow this coach.
2 schools.
Yeah,
follow this coach. Where you see the electric ability he has and the athleticism he had just in the spring game alone. He was never going to get time in Washington. They had a 3-headed monster. Like this, there was actually 4 if you think about it with Dylan Johnson, his receiving capability out of the backfield. There wasn't enough opportunity for him. Round 2. That for me is a little difficult because do I think 6 receivers are going off in the 1st round next year? Right now, no. So I mean, do I have him ahead of Dane Key and Colby Young? Probably, but I don't have them as 2nd round picks either. So if he makes the 2nd round, it would be the lower end of the 2nd round. But I think his numbers are going to push him up this year alone. I think he's going to be that guy for them. Wide receiver 1, he'll probably get 1,000 yards. If he gets double-digit touchdowns, we need to revisit this conversation.
My comp for him and SC, you know this from a previous show that we did during last season, has always been Curtis Samuel. Okay. I think that's his comp, and I think that'll play. I don't know if he gets round 2 capital. I think more unlikely is like probably round 3, but I think he is an NFL asset though. So yeah. I think he's someone.
I got him as like Matthew Golden type player.
249 yards after the catch, but yet to see a season over 500. So that's gonna be where people talk about like, oh, late production stuff like that. That's where I say, has to have a massive season to bump him up into those radars, I think. But at Alabama and SEC, it doesn't matter who your coach is or what you're doing. If you do up some numbers in Alabama, you're gonna get some recognition. So
statement number 3, class of 2025 quarterback 4-star Malik Washington in front of the Debbie Digest is currently consensus quarterback 23 in the composites and the 14th ranked quarterback by Rivals in 247 Sports. He is currently choosing between Penn State, Virginia Tech, and Maryland. If he were to end up at Virginia Tech, he would be a plug-and-play impact player after Kyron Drone leaves for the NFL. Nino, you're up first.
Facts. 100% facts. If he lands at Virginia Tech, there is no fall off. It's just boop, boop, new battery, plug in, replace. He is a ridiculous athlete. He's actually a better pocket passer, I think, than Jones is at right now. Like Jones is getting better at being a pocket passer from the season before to last year. He got better, right? But he was the top quarterback at the highest level of Maryland. Okay, he was also a 2-sport athlete by accident. You want to say he just happened to be good at basketball. He averaged 24 points per game, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists. So he's an athlete, hands down. He can throw off all angles, off any platform. He has this unique sidearm throwing motion to him that he uses as well. He has good timing. Again, I said strong arm, and he believes in that arm. He will attempt and make those tight mouse hole throws. He was 63% completion last year, 2,993 yards, 21 touchdowns. He had over 200 on the ground and 6 touchdowns. He also it was close to 3,000 yards the year before with 30 touchdowns and another 200 yards on the ground. He can get it done everywhere, and he has one thing that most quarterbacks at his age don't have: an internal clock. It's a rarity in the game nowadays if quarterbacks even have that. They more rely on their athleticism than anything else. He has an internal clock at the age of 17 right now. It's a unique trait. I love it. I think he can only get better. And yes, 100%. Plug it out, put the new guy in. It's the same thing. You're probably going to get the same results or maybe a few more victories.
Yeah, but this is a classic Spider-Man meme. I mean, him and Kyle Jones had similar stats last year. They both had over 2,000 passing yards, both had over 20 touchdowns, both had under 10 interceptions. I think Washington had 9 and Jones had 6 or something like that, maybe less than 6. Difference is Jones had 600 yards rushing. Like you mentioned, he just had over 200. But as you mentioned, he can hit from any angle. His versatility, his awareness of where he needs to, maneuver his hands and make that quick releases facts is great. Plus, you forgot to mention, he led the Maryland to back-to-back conference championships and the top classification in Maryland for private schools.
I mentioned that. Yeah.
So there you go. That's something that leadership, I mean? That's something you look in quarterbacks and you see it, and it's not just a one-hit wonder type of leadership. It's like, nah, bro, he's out there leading his team year in, year out and making those plays. I think if he does choose Maryland, that's a fantastic step for him. And it's like you mentioned, just that Spider-Man meme, man. We're not even gonna know the difference.
Statement number 4, class of 25 running back Chad Gasper is currently the consensus running back 50. He will earn his 4th star by all the services and will be a riser late in the process due to his versatile skill set and be a top 200 recruit. SC, you're up first.
Top 200, that's the thing that pushes. I think he could become like top 30 RB or something. Like he could definitely make that push for it. This guy, last 3 seasons, 25 total touchdowns, 39 receptions, 457 yards. He has everything you want. I talked about cuts earlier. This guy knows how to cut and make those rooms, So I do love it. Being a top 200 recruit, there's some good guys in that class, man. So that's where I don't think he necessarily does that. To me, what did it say? At 247, he was 500, 501, just outside of there. So that's heavy. I don't know if he does that. I do think he makes a jump in the running back room, but as a top 200 recruit, I'm gonna pass on that.
I think he makes a huge leap. And a major reason is because Colin Willis is gone, bro. See you later. That was the centerpiece of that offense, right? I mean, he only got 100 carries last year. And he was the highest attempted running back on his team, right? But again, 11 touchdowns rushing. He had the receiving touchdowns as well. But now they're going to be going to a run-heavy scheme. He is going to be the guy, the senior quarterback who put up gaudy numbers, 29 and 9. Like, he's gone. Now it'll be different. You're going to see these, 150 attempts out of him. You're going to see these longer runs, these runs from inside the hash where he kicks it out to the outside and breaks it off. You didn't get to see as much of that because it wasn't the style of run. He has the athleticism. He has the burst. He has the shiftiness to him. He has the hands. He's a versatile running back at all. I think he can play all 3 downs. We really haven't seen much of it, but I think what I've seen a little bit of, I think he has the ability to play all 3 downs. I think what he's going to put on the field this year in a body of work with the opportunity, that alone is going to make him rise. Now, if he explodes with the opportunity, watch out.
Yeah, like I said, I think jumping up from top 50 RB to the top 30 is definitely plausible for him. It's just getting in front of other athletes in that top 200. But anything's possible when you get the rock, right? He needs to have a big season over 1,000 yards. I don't think he's had over 1,000 yet, so he definitely needs to get on there.
Statement number 5, Texas Tech quarterback Will Hammond will overtake Baron Morton and become the starter at some point in 2024 and not give that job back. Nino, you're up first.
I love Will Hammond. I think he's one of the most underrated guys in the class. I put Will Hammond and Grunkenmeyer on my 2, nobody wants to give him enough credit type guys. Both of them, it's funny because both of them rose at the Elite 11s and made bigger names for themselves. Joey Maguire loves this kid. He loves Morton. I don't understand it. He loved the kid before him as well, right? And we watched. It took him like after his third year of being caca before he transferred out. Is it Stroud? Shrewd? Tyler Shrewd?
Tyler Shuck.
Shuck. I always say it wrong. It's spelled funny. That one's spelled funny though. That's my defense. But yeah, he loves Morton. Like he really is all about this kid. I do believe it's going to be Morton's job off the rip. And you mentioned that, mid-season or so. The thing is, he doesn't like his touchdown interception. It's like 15, 18, 16, he's like he never doesn't make too many where you're like, he's a turnover machine, but he doesn't separate himself where he's like that guy that just can take over and produce touchdowns. His accuracy is not bad. He's somewhere in the late 59, 60 range. So he's okay. Last year he had the better, he took the most attempts because obviously Shuck was hurt. I want to say 7 or 8 games last year. So he took over. They want to keep a veteran presence in the room. So he's obviously the starter off the rip. I just can't see it this year. I think it's Hammond's to run with next year. I think it's Morton's team this year.
You rub a good thing in the coach. Sometimes, man, the coach has to get off their soapbox, if you will, and just say, hey, this isn't the guy. If they go 2-3, their first 5 games, ACU, Washington State, North Texas, Arizona State, Cincinnati. If they go 2-3, I think you got to make a change. I think you have to make an opportunity and go out there and let your freshmen do the work and do what you need to do. You have a guy in Will Hammond that knows how to extend the play and does it flawlessly in a sense to make it happen. And why not start to get him some reps? At 2-3, I feel you're already starting to lose that team in a sense, especially against that easy schedule at the beginning, because after that, your next games are at Arizona. You play Baylor at Tech, TCU, Iowa State, Colorado, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. So 2-3, if you lose in those first 5, I think you have a chance of losing all the other games too. So there's a big opportunity that I think you bring in a new face and just say, hey, let's run with him. Let's give him a shot. So
they brought a lot of new faces in. A whole shitload of new faces. Every wide receiver in the whole goddamn room is new. The whole right side of the freaking line is new. When you got all new, you need the vet. He has to be the guy. Him and Brooks, Taj Brooks, have to be the 1-2 combination right now. You're going to throw out a freshman quarterback and a freshman starting wide receiver and Micah Hudson and hope to God that you guys, you might win 2 overall. Like, you have to run the vet in this room. If they didn't have so many new faces and new places here, like literally the whole wide receiver room is transfers. They're all transfers. You got to run Morton. And I think Morton, he's just the guy that's going to hold it down for a little bit. And at that point, someone's going to develop chemistry. You would hope, right? That's why I believe it's Morton's team this year. There's just too much moving parts.
So right now, let's assume it's Morton. Where do you have them? I'm going to go down the teams. ACU, win, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Washington State, at Washington State.
I don't trust Washington State with the damn, dude. You want to talk about missing holes? They lost the whole wide receiver room. They lost the quarterback, running back. There's a lot. The running back is a freshman.
So should be a win.
Yeah.
There too. North Texas going to Tech. Should be a win.
That should be a win. It'll be a battle because it's a Texas game, but they should win that.
Arizona State. That should be a win too. They're at Tech.
Yeah, that's
at
a win.
Tech. Cincinnati at Tech.
I would say Tech, but that's going to be a battle right down to the end of the fourth quarter.
Okay. So possibly they should go 5-0 to start.
I say 4-1. There's no way you're benching Morton, and at that point, you already passed. You passed the point of, oh well, we'll try him out. He might get a couple snaps in blowout games. You know what I'm saying? Whether they're winning or losing, it's going to be better Morton for this year. Now next year, it'd be hard for me to say that it's not Will Hammond.
So that's what I'm saying. If they go 2-3, I think you may start to look up because those 5 games right there, they should
go
all
2-3.
be
McGuire's fired, bro. Fired. It's not just going to be a QB change. It's going to be a regime change. You can book me on that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bonus statement: Alabama starting quarterback in 2025 will be found in the portal. SC, you're up first.
Yeah, I said yeah.
Come on, bro.
I said yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, DeVar brought his guy in Mac, but I don't think Mac's gonna be there. We talked about Romero too. Some guys that I'm gonna throw out, and y'all might go crazy over this, but 3 guys I brought up: Preston Stone had an offer when he was recruited, but that coach is now in Texas, so that's possibly out, right? But that's a good jump for him if possible. You have Jackson Arnold also at Oklahoma. If it doesn't pan out for Oklahoma there, why not try to go to the more pristine SEC team, right? If that doesn't
Well,
work out.
it was. But
Huh?
go ahead. It was.
Well, it
at one
was right.
point.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
right. But I'm saying if it doesn't work out for him at Oklahoma, it's just whatever happens, bad year, coach, whatever it may be. And then also Malachi Nelson. We've talked about him, going down at G5, showing out and then coming out. Alabama was the first team to offer Malachi Nelson when that time came. So he's also someone that could be it. But those are just three names. But I do think the quarterback is someone from the transfer portal.
Well, first off, when did Alabama offer Malachi Nelson?
It was the very beginning of his recruitment. He was the very first offer for him.
When you say Jackson Arnold not working out in Oklahoma, do we need to go back to the Dylan Gabriel debate?
No. I can hit the replay button if you want. We don't need to go down that road. Dylan Gabriel left because of Jackson Arnold.
I can't see a world where Jackson Arnold doesn't work out at Oklahoma. I can't see that happening. And with the whole Alabama thing, it's a whole regime change. It doesn't matter. I mean,
anymore.
Yeah, we now have Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer has a certain type of quarterback that he likes.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to Jackson Arnold and you saying possibly not working. I want to know how you think that could possibly not work this year.
Just going to a new conference, just if the SEC doesn't pan out and he's just not looking at that. I think Jackson Arnold is the guy. That's what I'm saying. These are just hypotheticals if they happen, but Jackson Arnold is the guy. But if they go into the SEC and just get smoked, then why not try to find a change of scenery?
Why would he have a change of scenery if in the first year of him being the starter there, he's given the keys to the kingdom? They're in the SEC, first year play. He is someone that's going to put up monster numbers. I mean, you are someone that talks about numbers. You think an NFL quarterback can make it if they have good numbers. So shouldn't you absolutely love Jackson Arnold? I mean, if you think they're going to be down, he's going to be throwing. And with your belief in how the NFL works, if you put up numbers, you're a first-round pick. Shouldn't you be all in on Jackson Arnold?
Oh, yeah. I'm saying the question was, is it a transfer portal? I think he's someone that we never know. Maybe NIL money changes things too, where it could happen, right? So that was my thought on it. I think Jackson Arnold is a good QB. But again, if something happens in Oklahoma and they just don't transition well over to it, then why not have an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to go to a different school and try something else?
Those were our 5 statements. Now we're going to bring you some 2024 NFL rookies to think about. SC, who's your guy?
Right now, I'm going to go with Kansas edge rusher, and that's Austin Booker. This guy had 56 total tackles. He had 12 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, which was third in the Big 12 last season, 38 total pressures. He just has a plethora of moves at his disposal to get around the guys, make a big explosion. Not enough people are talking about him in what is a deep edge class room, but I think Austin Booker is someone to watch out for in some IDP leagues because he knows how to get after it and go after that quarterback.
I mean, it's super deep with edge, but there are a lot of teams that do need some depth at the edge position. So, yeah, I mean, the tackle for losses are there, right? The solos are there. So it is something to keep an eye on. Real quick, Andy, Julian Lewis will be the quarterback for Alabama. Crimson Tide. It's not going to be the portal. That's the quarterback. I'm just, that's the guy. If he leaves USC, that's where he's going. The system fits him perfect, right? Like the ball system is perfect fit for Juju. So that's my take there. I like you guys.
But you've been on saying DeBoer is not the coach next year.
Oh, I said he wouldn't make it past Saban's class. It's 2.
Well, 2 years. Okay,
he's got 2. He's got 2 classes to make. After that, he won't. But that has nothing to do with Juju. Juju going to go there because SEC, Alabama, the 1 year that he needs to put a name for himself where he's going to be the starter, the system will be in place. and there will be 5-star talent. What happens after 2025? Well, my magic 8 ball hasn't arrived yet. I'll let you know in a little bit, right? But for my guy that I like, a lot of people are sleeping on him. A lot of people just say he's a speedster. That's all he really is. He's too little. Give me Anthony Gould out of Oregon State, okay? 5'8", 178. We've seen the whole, he's too small, too little. Tank Dell did it, okay? I don't want to hear about it no more. He had 70 targets last year, 44 receptions, 711 yards, only 2 touchdowns, okay? But this dude has intangibles, right? 31st down, so he's instantly a chain mover. Does not drop the ball. He has 62% reception rate. You're like, that's kind of low. It was more so balls weren't thrown to him in his direction. It was just in an area, all right? He's a special teams weapon. We've seen it, right? Yeah, what do you have in the bowl? He had a 100-yard kick return to the crib. I was actually in the East West Shrine Bowl. He gets it done. He's an athlete. He's got speed. He is a tough SOB. We talk about receivers catching with their hands, right? And not being cradling the ball, not being a body catcher. This dude is a plucker. He goes up out of in his high contest catches at 5'8". He go up there and pluck this thing out of the sky. You don't see him. Next thing you see is 2 hands. Boop, got he. All right, he's got great hands. He actually has a really, really good burst off the line of scrimmage. It's one of his top traits. He plays through his size. He don't care about going over the middle. He don't care about going up and contested catches against these bigger safeties and DBs. He is going to fight you like a pit bull. And a lot of the times, this dude wins in the contested catch game. It's crazy. He's a playmaker. He works the field. He's not afraid of the contact. Like I said, he'll go up and get the ball. Teams that target speed, this guy could have a role early. One thing he does need to work on at the next level to have longevity is he absolutely has to work on the route tree. Has to. If he does not work on that route tree, he's just going to be a special teamer, and that's all he will be in the NFL.
And that's with players like him, you just want him to go to a spot that has good coaching, right? That knows how to use their guys. Because even if he goes somewhere where there's 4 or 5 receivers, like you mentioned, special teams is a big thing for him. But even then, give him a shot, man. Like don't wait on Civic. Let him have a shot and let him showcase what he can do. Yeah, fine-tune those route running and stuff like that. But because of his aggressiveness of going after the catch and using his speed and knowing how to precise and how to get above the defense and beat them down deep, that's something big that some quarterbacks will love. That he just needs to have that opportunity. So I think it's just all on the coaches for him because he's gonna be a day 3 pick, right? So just the right coaching will matter on the right team for him.
So Miami loves speed, okay? But they have holes on defense that they really have to plug up. Probably could use another offensive lineman. But in the 6th round, taking Anthony Gould to be a special team weapon and a guy that you could plug in. Like, if he lines up on the same side as Hill or Waddle, God bless. Those DBs are going to be gassed halfway through the game, just chasing these dudes. It just is a decoy. He's helping your team out by wearing down the secondary. So I think, yes, he's not a luxury. He's a luxury pick to have late in drafts if you have already filled in the pieces that you need. So teams with speed, I really like him getting targeted by.
Yeah.
And those are some rookies to think about. Now, rookie values, they fluctuate daily. Now, leads us into our next segment, the stock exchange. Nino, who's your stock guy?
I'm staying in New England. And at one point, I was kind of like tapped out at the stock, okay? I think it hit its plateau. We were riding out. But I got news this morning of a coaching change and something I think will help this gentleman. Now, Victor Rose is back, okay? But Cam Edwards outproduced Victor Rosa last year in less games as a starter. He had 9 games as a starter. Rosa had, I think he played 9 games. Rosa had 11 games before he got hurt. But Cam Edwards was just better at everything. Just yards per carry, touchdowns, overall yards, everything he did, he was better at. Okay, he's a local kid out of Connecticut. He was a former Connecticut Player of the Year. He put up over 2,500 yards total in his career, over 44 touchdowns total. Right. In 9 games, he had 618 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have 15 receptions, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, he's better than Victor Rose all around. Now the O-line coach and the run game coordinator, Gordon Samus, is the new OC. They averaged almost 200 yards on the ground. And they're not a one-trick pony team because they only allowed 12 sacks. So they're a balanced offensive line, which is huge because you can't scheme that up. But they ran the ball 58% of the time. The quarterbacks, it's always been a question for UConn for the past 5 to 8 years. Okay. What does Jim Moore like to do even in the NFL? He likes to run the ball. Now with Seamus there as the main guy in the OC room, I think they're going to run the ball even more. Give me Cam Edwards as a guy to take over that room, and he's going to get 1,000 yards this year.
I like that, especially when you talk about UConn. UConn's not a team you really check out, but yeah, when you come up to guys that get that full share and just become that workhorse back, I think that's someone to always pay attention to, especially with his versatility and the way he can hit holes and just attack when he needs to. So good pick there.
So that was stock up for running back Cam Edwards. SC, is yours a stock up or stock down?
I'm going to go stock up with Trent Hudson out of New Mexico State. You have Jonathan Brady, who's transferring to Cal. This is an opportunity. You know, Hudson could come out there and become your 6'3", 180, had 61.4% completion, 570 yards, 10 touchdowns, 173 yards after the catch. And that's what I said, 571 yards, 173 of those were after the catch. So knows what to do, knows how to be a playmaker. Last year, he was overshadowed by Brady. Brady is no longer there. Nino, you brought up the A-dot earlier, about 15 or something. Guys, A-dot 16.2. So that depth is there, and yet he still makes a play. So I think this is an opportunity for him to come out, say, hey, I am the guy. You don't need to get someone else. So I think you need to watch out for Trent Hudson here at New Mexico State.
Do you have any concern with the following? A new head coach, Jerry Kill. He is one of these program savior type head coaches. He is the kind of coach that his players will run through a wall for him. When he stepped down, we saw a max exodus. 32 guys either transferred out or are still in the portal. Hudson spent 14 days in the portal in December when everyone was getting picked up. If you were a breathing body, you were getting talked and picked up left and right. The only Power 4 offer that he had were Minnesota and Kansas State. All of his other offers were other G5 schools. That tells me that the Power 4 school said, you can be a rotational depth piece. Minnesota has one alpha in the room. Kansas State potentially has an alpha in the room in Jace Brown. Shout out to friend of the show, Mike Valerie. I didn't fuck up his name that time. The grass wasn't greener, and he decided to come back. He spent 2 weeks in the portal, and there was nothing there. But that's not the worst part. Here's the worst part. Quarterbacks. Diego Pavia, the starting quarterback. Vanderbilt. Gavin Frakes, Virginia. Frakes announced that he was going to enter the portal after Hudson said he was coming back. And then you have Blaze Berlowitz. He left. He went to Vanderbilt. He would rather be the third string quarterback at Vanderbilt than to stay with that program and compete for a starting job. Here are the new quarterbacks that come in. Parker Awad. He is a JUCO kid. He played 11 games last year. In 6 of those games, he had under 50% completions. Here's the next guy they brought in, Brandon Nunez. He was also a JUCO kid. He played 10 games. 4 of those games under 50% completion, and he had 8 interceptions. The supposed leader in the room is Deuce Hogan. He began his career at Kentucky in 2021. He has 8 career passing attempts. Kentucky went to get Devin Leary. Leary was so bad last year, yet he still couldn't see any game action. He got recruited over multiple times. That's not all. Kentucky went and got Brock Vandagriff. We've seen these schools when they don't want the quarterbacks to enter the portal. They say it's an open competition, so no one leaves. When Vandagriff signed with Kentucky, they right away said he was the guy and told everyone else in the room, hit the road if you don't like it. Do you have any concerns with any of those things that I talked about your boy Trent Hudson for next year, being a stock up guy?
Yeah, because I think the wide receiver room is his out of that, right? I think he's the one that's going to be the favorite target to any quarterback. Even if that quarterback is not great, he's someone that's going to be the reliable hands for this quarterback to go out there and get the ball for him.
All right, hold on. Can I give you my point on why I think he has an okay year? Nothing to do with he's the only guy in the wide receiver room. All right, I'm going to tell you, because Tony Sanchez, he's a wide receiver guy. He was the wide receiver coach for them. Let's rewind this shit back a little bit. Let's go back to when he was a high school coach, okay? Successful, right? I believe they won a final a championship when he was what's the school? I'm trying to think of. It was in California, right? They won a final and they made it to a final. So then he went to Bishop Gorman. They're not a joke program, and they were legitimate, like championship. They went 37-0 as him as the head coach. Put up gaudy offensive numbers. I don't know if Deuce Hogan's going to be the guy. I don't know if Andy Pham is going to be the guy for New Mexico State. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Whoever is the quarterback out of there, he is going to get the best production out of that guy because this is what he does. Right? I know you said Jerry Crow, it was a guy. He was cashed out last year. Halfway through the year, Jerry Crow was like, I don't want to do this anymore. The minute the season was over, he took off the Mexican rug and threw it on the ground. I'm finished, dude. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't care if bowl game, no bowl game. I'm over. I think Sanchez can lead whatever quarterback is on the right path. Yes, Hudson is the guy in that room, so he's probably going to get the most targets. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd have stock up on. He might be a guy I'm holding out to right now to see where he goes. But I think Tony Sanchez could be a factor on why we'll move the needle up a little bit.
That is going to be an interesting name to watch. Great episode, guys. SC, where can people find your work?
Yeah, man. So at the PPR, so we'll be doing stuff draft day leading up to the draft. Fantasy Football Universe, we'll be doing a lot of draft shows just going on, talking what we think is going to happen and how players rise and drop. RPO Football, have some articles on there. Future Phenoms, league winners, and then the O, on CFB Nation out there as well. Looking to go to Oregon Spring Game, which is next weekend. So not this weekend, next weekend. So I'll be having some information about that, and here soon I'll talk about what I'm looking for in that spring game.
Nino, where can people find your work?
League winners, CFB Nation, Debbie Degens. That's where I'm at. So I put out the most content as possible. And then I'm always doing some behind the scene, video stuff for the Couch Scouts. So I'm excited. Just got back from BC spring game. They might have a QB controversy over there. We'll have to wait and see. It might be Grayson James. It could be Thomas Castellanos. But yeah, this was a great one. I want to say shout out to the 100 viewers that we've had to the whole show. Salute. Appreciate you guys tuning in weekly and just showing support. Salute you guys. Appreciate it.
Now, we'll be back next Thursday. That'll be night 1 of the NFL Draft. We'll have a special episode. Definitely tune in for that. Now, we'll be back, but before we go, you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, give us a rate and review. And we'll see you next Thursday on Future Phenoms.